Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stereo Launch video, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing a studio tour. Now I don't have a big fancy studio to show off with all kinds of super cool gear and all that stuff, but I figured A, I've never done one of these before, and also B, we moved a few months ago, so I have a different space than I used to, and so I can talk about some of the pros and some of the challenges of this space. Plus I've had a few sessions and stuff like that, so I kind of have it mostly set up, still tweaking a few things, but I figured now would be a really good time to just kind of show you how I'm using my space and why I did certain things. So if you have any comments or questions about this video or my space, make sure you leave those in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And of course, if you like the video, hit like. If you want more content around recording, mixing, songwriting, guitar, all that stuff, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new videos come out. And I think that's pretty much it, so let's get going. All right, so this is my studio space. Obviously, it's not the whole thing. My desk and stuff is over there, out of view currently, but it's one room. It's not huge. This actually is a converted single car garage. I didn't convert it. The people that owned it before us, they kind of built it in and all that stuff. So all the walls and drywall is already here and all that stuff. I just brought my stuff in and hung up some panels. This is what I consider the tracking room area. It is big enough for a full-size drum kit, so that works out really well. I did a session where I had a full drum kit. I had a guitar player over here with his amp, and I had a bass player over here with his gear, and then I had, for a songwriter, we were tracking all the instruments that day, no vocals, but the songwriter was hanging out by my desk. Just kind of making sure everything was sounding like he wanted and all that stuff. So, you know, it's big enough to get work done for sure. It's not super huge, but it does work. And actually it sounds pretty good in here all in all. Again, this is my tracking room. So I've got drums here or acoustic guitars, or if I do vocals, I'll stick them right here. Right underneath this acoustic treatment and all that stuff. Again, the walls. The floor in here, like I said, it is a garage, basically a one-car garage. So there's concrete, and then there's linoleum on top of the concrete. Not the best for acoustics, for recording sound-wise and all that stuff. So I have this rug here to kind of help tame, especially those highs and stuff bouncing back off. It works out really well. Sounds pretty good in here. These acoustic panels, if you've seen any of my other videos, these are the same DIY panels that I built 2 houses ago. I've had these for years now. They work great. I have zero complaints. They hang easy and all that stuff. So if you want to see how I built those, you can check out my video, link it right here, where I show how I built these panels. And kind of con with this space, I don't know if you can really see it, these doors right here, that is our laundry. That's where our washer and dryer, and actually our water heater's back there too. So they do make some noise, obviously, when they're running. We don't run them when I'm tracking with microphones and stuff, but if I'm recording guitars or bass direct or whatever, or editing, it's really not a big deal. But they are there. This is a shared space. My wife has some stuff for school and kids over here and all that stuff, so it's a shared space, but it is primarily used for recording and mixing and songwriting and all that stuff. So there we go. This is the tracking space. All right, so this is the other side of the one-room studio, and this is the control room, right? So this is obviously where my desk is, where I sit and do most of my work, mixing, editing, and all that stuff. I have a storage shelf over here, and I have some storage over here in a closet as well. And again, here's our laundry, washer and dryer and all that stuff. So we just kind of flipped around. Since this is considered basically my control room, I've treated it acoustically to basically be my control room. So I have my panels here on the walls at the first points of reflection coming off my speakers. Also, I put a cloud up here because it's just a flat drywall ceiling and a flat concrete floor. So the sound just bounces like this up and down. I have this cloud up here to catch that initially. And down here, you can't really see it, but I have a rug underneath my chair, and I have carpet padding underneath this rug. And basically, A, it makes it nicer to walk on and stand on, but also B, it kind of helps absorb some of those mid and high frequencies a little bit more coming off the concrete. So I have this space kind of treated for mixing. Eventually, I want to put bass traps in the corners and all that jazz, just not there yet. All right, let's talk about my desk. I've actually sold off a few things. And so it's looking a little empty, especially right here. There's nothing there. There's not, I got a big empty space there. I don't have a lot of fancy outboard gear. I do a lot of stuff in the box. So starting with the computer, I am running Pro Tools. I think I'm still on Pro Tools 11 because this is a mid-2011 iMac. It's fairly old, but it still works and still gets the job done. Like I said before, I've tracked drums, bass guitars, and vocals and stuff all at the same time, and it works just fine. Has a hiccup every now and then, but works pretty good. It's from back in the days when you could install your own RAM in there as well, so I got 32 gigs of RAM in there. So it holds its own for the most part. As far as monitors, I have a Yamaha's, the 8-inch HS8s. And I've had those for years from shortly after from when they originally came out, and they are great. I have no complaints, and mixing on them is pretty easy. Down here I have a cheap Rack Rider power strip. It works well enough. It does what it needs to do and gives my stuff a place to plug in and power. Interface I'm using now, and I've had this for a few months and really like it, is the Focusrite Claret 8 Pre. This is the USB version, not the Thunderbolt version. It sounds great. I really like the air feature. I used to have a Sapphire Pro 40, and if you're familiar with the software that came with that for routing and all that stuff, it was a lot to get your head around and kind of confusing. I kind of had it set up and saved that as a template and just never touched it. This one, the software is a lot easier. Headphone mixes and all that stuff are easy. So that's one selling feature. Plus it just sounds really great. I have right here, this is the Sapphire Octo Pre Mark II. That was the matching unit for my Sapphire Pro 40. I still have this one. Basically, the Claret is 8 channels, and when I need more, I just plug channels into the Octo Pre. Those preamps still sound pretty good and all that stuff. It works great, so I use it when I need more channels. Say I'm tracking drums and other stuff. I will plug certain inputs in there and have up to 16 channels ready to go. So pretty handy. Guitar picks. And then also this is the PreSonus Monitor Station version 2. Mainly use that for sending out multiple headphone mixes and all that stuff, and being able to give everybody their own mix. Plus it does all the monitoring stuff as well. So, and then on the back side of my desk, I kind of have it hidden here behind all my messy cables, which I need to tie up at some point. I use the torpedo captor for recording my electric guitar. So my amp plugs into this. It's an 8-ohm load box, and then there's a XLR out that goes to my interface, which goes into my computer, and in the computer is where it has the simulated cabinets and microphones and all that stuff, so I can record silently at night or whatever, put headphones on, or if I just want to play through my speakers and crank it up, I can do that too. But that way everything kind of just goes direct, and I'm good to go. So it's a very cool piece of gear, and it's definitely changed the way I record a lot. So over here, this is my kind of notebook I use for lyric ideas, video ideas, and all that stuff. Just something handy for me to jot stuff down and think stuff out. This is the new MacBook Pro 16-inch. I'm recently bought that, and I'm testing that out to make sure it does all the things I need to do, but it'll mainly be used for doing video stuff. And of course, the standard complement of Mac keyboard and Mac Magic Mouse. That is pretty much it for my studio desk. All right, thought I'd just give a quick rundown on the microphones I have. So I thought we'd kind of just start with as if we're doing a full tracking session and just start with the drums and move on from there. This right here is the AKG D112. It's a very popular standard mic for kick drums, also can be used on bass guitar cabs. This is the old version. You'll notice I have the mic clip taped on. Actually, this is not the original mic clip. I was in a session, original mic clip broke, grabbed this one and some electrical tape and taped it on, and it's been there ever since. It's been on there for at least 10 years. And so the new ones have a built-in mic clip. I'm guessing probably because that was a regular problem. So that's the AKG D112, which mainly gets used on kick drum on the inside. All right, moving on to what I normally use on snare would be the SM57. I do have two of these. A lot of times one will be on the top snare. I'll use a condenser, I'll show you here in a minute, on the bottom of the snare. And another one will get used on a guitar cab. If all my condensers are taken up with overheads and hi-hat and stuff, then sometimes I'll throw one of these on the bottom of the snare too, if I'm looking to get that bottom snare sound. So it works. I prefer the condensers typically, but this definitely works just fine in a pinch. So I have two SM57s. All right, for my toms, I have the Sennheiser E604s. A lot of people typically think of these as live drum mics, and that's probably fairly accurate. A lot of people don't like them for recording. I've gotten good recordings with them, but the reason I have these is basically because for the price of one Sennheiser 421, I was able to get all three of these mics. And so I was on a budget at the time and got these as a set, and they work. So these only get used on toms. I tried them on electric guitar cabs and stuff just for experimenting before, but these just live on toms when I'm recording drums. All right, for overheads and hi-hat or bottom snare, these get used a lot for that. These are Octava MCO 1201s, and I've had these for forever. I have three of them, obviously, so they come in these cases like this, and then they have the capsule right here, and they're all cardioid capsules. You can get other ones, but I just have the regular cardioid for these. And then these also are -10 dB pads that you can put on there too. So if I'm doing overheads or hi-hat and stuff like that, the pads definitely go on. Sometimes I'll put these on acoustic guitars, and I'll usually take the pads off, especially if it's like finger picking. But I have other mics that usually go on acoustic guitars, but sometimes these do as well. All right, so up next are my MXL microphones, and I use these for my drum room mics typically. This one is an MXL 770. It is a condenser microphone, and it has, you know, the roll-off switch, and it has a 10 dB pad switch. And this one is the R40. It is a ribbon microphone, so it is figure 8, and it is only figure 8. So how I use these for rooms, basically, I learned a trick by watching a YouTube video from a channel called Ultimate Studios Inc. I will leave a link in the description below, and I try to even find the video where I first heard this or saw this. So basically what I do is you do what's called mid-side mic technique. So I will put my condenser mic here. You can do it one of two ways. You can have it, the diaphragm. Next up is the Audio-Technica 4040. These are fairly inexpensive large diaphragm microphones. They are cardioid only, and they also have the low cut switch on the back and a 10 dB pad. Typically these are used for acoustic guitars to do like a stereo pair. Sometimes they'll get used for overheads on drums if I'm wanting to get more of the full drum sound from the overheads. Sometimes one of these will end up as the outside kick mic, and sometimes they get used for vocals. They can sound good on certain vocals. I have another microphone I typically prefer, especially on my vocals, but these can sound really good on vocals as well. So that's the Audio-Technica 4040. All right, next up is my favorite vocal mic, at least on my vocals, and it's been on a lot of my sessions lately. Just seems to work out really well. It's the Shure SM7B. A lot of people say, oh, this is the Michael Jackson microphone, which is only half true, I believe. The Michael Jackson Thriller microphone was the SM7, which is the precursor to the SM7B. Very similar, slight difference, but these do get used a lot on rock vocals and stuff like that. I've also used this on guitar cabs, and it can sound really good on guitar cabs. Very cool mic, very versatile, does a lot of cool things, and is not overly expensive. All right, getting into some of my kind of, I guess, considered non-studio microphones. These are what I use sometimes for live. So this is the Sennheiser E935. This is a really good live microphone. You know, kind of like where you might use an SM58, you could use this instead. Sounds really good rejection, and just good quality sound coming out of it. I don't really use this for live, like in a show or anything, but when I do videos of live acoustic performances of songwriters and stuff like that, a lot of times I'll use this on the vocal, or if I end up using the Shure SM7B on the main vocal, I'll use this on like a backup vocal or whatever, something like that. This is the Behringer XM8500. It's supposed to be a knockoff basically of the SM58, as you can tell by the shape and the model number. These get used as a, oh man, I need more microphones, like in a live performance video situation or something like that. These are super cheap. These are kind of just auxiliary microphones. I think when I bought them, they're like 15 bucks each. I think they're $23 each now. So I have 3 of them. And so if I use up all my other microphones and I need to stick something on another guitar cabinet or like a steel guitar cabinet or something like that, or I just need another backup singer or vocal microphone, I will use these. Do they sound great? They sound fine. I've had 0 complaints of people on recording. I did steel guitar a while back in a live video. I can link to that video, and this is what was on the steel guitar cabinet, and nobody said anything, nobody noticed, sounded great. So anyways, Behringer XM8500. I have 3 of these. All right, so that's basically my mic collection in a nutshell. Like I said, nothing over the top fancy. I don't have any Neumanns. I used to have a U87 back in the day, sounded awesome, but I don't have any super high-end microphones like that. I just got a good, solid, working set of microphones that get the job done, sound good, and you know, so that's what's most important. If you're not doing drums and all that stuff, a lot of these you don't need. You can get by with just a 57, or you can get by with just a SM7B. It doesn't really take all of these, but this is what I have, and that's basically kind of how I use them. This is my electronic drum kit. It is a Roland TD3. I've had this thing forever. I bought it off of a guy used probably 12 years ago, something like that. Still works really well, not perfectly all the time, but works well enough for sure. I'm not a great drummer. I don't have drummers come in and play on this thing either. Basically, what this gets used for is, my kids like to play on it and hit the drums, so there's that. But the real reason I have it is sometimes if I'm writing a song, and I use Easy Drummer for a lot of my songwriting stuff, programming can be kind of a pain, or I can't quite, you know, translate what I hear in my head onto the computer. So I'll just come up, sit down over here and just play it, right? Hit record, record the MIDI. I don't record the sounds off of this because the sounds aren't all that great. But I record the MIDI out of this into Pro Tools, and then if I get a little off time or I flub something or whatever, I can just drag and drop the MIDI and just fix those things really easily. But that way I can get what I hear in my head down into the computer relatively quickly and easily. Time to talk about my guitars. That's my main instrument. So I have a few. I got 3 that I mainly use, and others are like my first guitars, and they're cheap and they're not really worth selling, so I haven't. But let's just take a quick look at guitars. First up is my main guitar. This is my Gibson Les Paul Studio. It's a 2013. I put the Burst Bucker Pros pickups in here just because I like the way they sound better. You can check out my video about that right here. If I had only one guitar, this would be it. This is my main guitar, playlist and everything. I got the string hair going on up there just because I changed strings recently and didn't have my pliers to cut them off. My other guitar that gets played a lot, I've had this for a few years. This is my Fender Squier Classic Vibe Telecaster. This is the made in China version. I think the new ones are made in Indonesia now, I think. Very cool guitar. I consider this as like my other sound. So Les Paul's the main sound. If I want that other sound, I go for the Telecaster. So these two get played a lot. This is a great sounding guitar, great playing guitar, especially for the money. They're not very expensive, and it gives me my Tele fix. So this is my Ibanez Talman. This one didn't get played a lot for a long time. It was my dream guitar in college. Couldn't afford it. Found it a few years ago, used. So I bought it. Didn't like the pickups in it. Put in the pickups from my Epiphone Les Paul. Didn't like those either. So I didn't get played a lot because I didn't like the way it sounded. But I recently put in the Seymour Duncan Fat Cats. They're kind of a P90 style pickup in a humbucker size. Now it actually sounds really pretty cool. So definitely dig this now. All right, this is my very first guitar. All right, so this is, I bought this at not a yard sale, at a flea market for like 50 bucks. It's a Harmony. It is a piece of junk. It's pretty awesome. So it's literally made out of glue and sawdust, and this fretboard, that black, is actually literally like spray painted on there. So all this wear is just where spray paint is worn off. So anyways, it's a piece of junk. It sounds terrible, plays terrible, all that jazz, but it was my first guitar. I can't sell it for anything, so I just hang on to it. I'm gonna make a video with it here sometime real soon too, just for fun. All right, this is my Strat. This is a Fender Squier Stratocaster. I'm not really a Strat guy. This is my first real guitar. Got this in high school. I believe it's a 95, if I remember correctly. So I think it's technically vintage now. Anyway, so I don't normally play Strat. I didn't really like it when I had it. I played it through the last part of high school and most of college. But as all I had back in the day, we didn't have all these online stores and all this stuff. So being left-handed, what they had in the store was what you got to choose from, and usually a black Strat was about it. So anyways, this is my first guitar. I just keep it around in case I want the Strat sound on the rare occasion. I have it, and you know, more for posterity than anything. So Squier Strat. My bass, I use this for tracking, for songwriting and all that stuff. I don't play out with the bass, but this is a Schecter Stiletto Studio 5. So it's a 5-string bass, and it's kind of hard to find a lefty 5-string bass, especially a few years back when I bought this one. So it's got active pickups. Really like the finish on it. This, I think it's Babinga wood, and it's just kind of cool, the satin finish and all that jazz. But it's a great playing bass. It sounds really good, plays really good, all that stuff. So that's my bass. For my acoustic guitar, it is nothing fancy. This is a Seagull. It's an M6 model. I don't even know what that means, but it's not super fancy. I bought it used, cheap, and all that stuff. It sounds okay. Not great, but okay. Plays okay. Not great, but okay. I recently put in an LR Baggs acoustic. It's got a pickup and a mic in there. And so it didn't come with electronics, but I've been wanting to play out for songwriter nights and stuff. So put electronics in this because buying a high-end acoustic guitar is just not a priority right now. So this gets me by. It records okay, plays okay, and all that stuff. So it does the job. As far as guitar amps, I have the Egnator Tweaker 15, which is a pretty good sounding amp, especially for the money. Does a lot of cool tones and all that stuff. It's got some switches on there to tweak. I also have the 1x12 cabinet that you can get for it, and it sounds fine. I mainly got it because my other cabinet's just too heavy to lug around for band rehearsal and all that stuff. So this is a whole lot lighter. It sounds fine, works fine, and all that stuff. So have that. It's nice and light and easy to throw into the car. My main cab I have, this is the Avatar Contemporary 2x12. It's got vintage 30s in it, and it's like an oversized cabinet, and it's closed back, and it sounds awesome. It just sounds so good, but it's heavy. It is heavy to carry around, so it mainly stays in the studio, and I take it out. Like if I got a show or whatever, I'll take it for that. All right, so zooming in a little bit down here, we have my pedal board, and so I got the Polytune TC Electronic, good pedal tuner. EP booster, it's my always on pedal, so it just kind of gives a little extra oomph to my amp sound. I have the Wampler Toneless Deluxe, and that is kind of my low gain / Americana kind of sound I go for in that. And then also I have the OCD, that is the version 1.4, and that's more of my not high gain but higher gain rock and roll sound. And then the Electro Harmonics Soul Food, and I use that as my lead boost pedal. So I got the drive turned all the way down, and you know, just basically use the volume or a lead boost. Up here, Electro Harmonics Canyon delay pedal. Mainly use that for a looper. I've been experimenting with delay and stuff some. I'm not really a delay guy, but been using it some, and you can actually do some really cool, crazy, weird sounds out of it, and that's fun too. Super Trim by Full Tone. It's a great trim pedal. Yeah, it just sounds awesome. And then the Hall of Fame TC Electronics. That's the first version. I've had that for quite a while. I don't do a ton of reverb stuff, but I usually just have it on for just a little extra, so my signal's not quite so dry sounding. But I don't do a bunch of ambient stuff or anything with it. It's just subtle reverb. So, and then I got, you know, these going in the input of my amp, and then also these run through the effects loop also. So pretty basic setup, just a couple gain pedals, solo boost, and you know, delay, reverb, trim. Nothing super fancy, but good pedal board. Does all that I needed to do. All right, here's kind of my shelf system that has all my other little odds and ends as far as gear goes. So this shelf right here basically has my microphones, a couple of pedals that I'm looking to sell here eventually, headphones, and some headphone cables and stuff like that. This next shelf down basically has, I got my Shure SM7B and my pop filter that I've had forever. Can't remember when I bought that. It's probably been 15 years ago. Got a couple of speed lights for my photography stuff there. And then I have the tambourine because everybody needs a tambourine. There's my old Sapphire Pro 40. I haven't sold yet. I was keeping it as a backup, but probably need to sell it. And then just some battery chargers and a wah pedal in case I need a wah pedal, and some cinefoil for video and photography stuff. If you don't know what cinefoil is, it's basically really thick aluminum foil, and it's painted black, and you can use it to block light and all that stuff, to direct light when you're doing stuff. So sticking with the theme of not terribly interesting things, this closet right here has mic stands and photography stuff in there, and guitar cases and all that. Obviously down here, short mic stands, music stand that comes in handy for not just holding music, but all kinds of things. Have that there. And this is kind of a temporary shelf system thing where I'm just sticking some stuff I don't know what to do with right now. I have some microphone cables and a light and all that jazz in there. So again, not terribly interesting there. All right, well that pretty much concludes the tour. Like I said, nothing super fancy over the top, but I got a good little space to work in. Got my guitars, my interface, and microphones and all that stuff. We got enough to get the work done. So anyways, hopefully you found that helpful, insightful, entertaining, or at least not too boring. And again, if you got any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. Happy to answer questions and all that stuff. If you ever track guitars at home and find that volume is an issue, because I know I like to stick a microphone in front of the cab if possible, but that's not always a possibility because it's too loud. Maybe the kids are asleep late at night and you gotta get stuff recorded, or you know, you live in an apartment, or you got neighbors that complain too much and all that stuff, you can check out my free guide, 5 ways to record loud guitars at home. So you can go to my website, stereolunch.com/loudguitars. I'll also leave a link in the description below, and you can get that free guide, and it just goes through different ways of recording great sounding guitars silently with headphones or whatever like that without bothering anybody else. And you can get your killer guitar tones done at 1 a.m. if you want to. So anyways, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.